There was a woman who kept saying that, once I bought my first packet of biscuit for my child as a gift, she can never forget that feeling. I was like, I'll keep doing long distance,
Yeah.
but I need to have a job because I cannot be financially dependent on another person.
Especially on social media, sometimes just following your passion is glorified so much
Yeah.
that even I tell some of my clients that if you're in a tough position,
Yeah.
please, for the want of a better word, suck it up and have that
100%.
clarity to then do it for the money, because you can't make money
Yeah.
feel so petty while it is so important.
But you have to suck it up. You
Yeah.
have to just do it because that's the season you're in. That's
Yeah,
what you need.
correct.
That's what's serving your purpose.
Yes, and it doesn't last forever. Welcome to the Sheen Mesh Show. This is where we have conversations about wealth, energetics, money mindset, and how to generate wealth with confidence and ease. Every episode brings you grounded conversations with people who are living this reality. Let's dive in. Welcome to today's edition of the Sheen Mesh Show. Today I have with me Malvika, who is leading strategy at Zayed University, and previously she's worked for various positions in the Big Four. She is a dear friend of mine and a window to the world of corporates. But of course, we discuss so many different things. She's like a sister to me, and I'm so excited to have her on the show today to work in a professional capacity.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you
course.
so much. So, Malvika, I have known you in various ways, and I think it's not always very natural for us to talk about money in this way. So today, let's set an intention to talk a little deeper about what drives us. We see our behaviors, I think, each other's behaviors as well. And there are so many things that we subconsciously or consciously notice about each other. And I would love to know how your mind thinks, because you've been like one of my, in NLP, they say you role model, people who you are closest to. So you're definitely one that comes in that circle. And it'll be great to know what's kind of working in the background.
Let's do it.
What is like your foundational memory about money? I would love to know what your earliest memories were growing up about money.
I think the earliest memory, and this is something it's all about the house, right? What the home you're living in as a child, what the energy around money is there. And for me, even though we didn't have a lot, it was always enough. Like it was always a sense of abundance. There was always a sense of we have more than enough and we can do anything we want, which if you go in accounting terms, maybe not, especially in my dad's growing years. But there was always a sense of you can do anything you want. Money is not a restriction. It was also a balanced approach because we didn't go crazy with it.
Yeah.
But there was always a sense of security. There was always a sense of abundance. There was always a sense of we should be very free with money and not be very restrained and not be very limiting about it.
Nice.
Which I never even realized sets such a great foundation for the rest of the life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all driven by my dad. And also my mom tended to be a little bit more restrictive about it. But I think my dad's energy was so strong that it used to balance it out.
Do you almost now, as an adult, think back to the numbers and think how this was possible in terms of their attitude versus
100%,
numbers?
100%, because I don't think I would have been able to do it. And especially, where we stay in Dubai, like, it's very evident how much money you have or not.
Yeah.
But I grew up in Delhi, and there I don't know how they managed to do it. It was,
Yeah.
I don't know if it is because you always look at it from a childhood lens, so you don't
Yeah.
really hear about the problems or see the problems. You always see the best of it, or always you think it's you're just living in a game or something like that. But I have no idea how they managed to do it and how they never made us feel that there was an issue or there was
That's
sometime not enough.
That's superb. Something that I pick up a lot from what I see, the way I see you interacting with money or anything in life, really, is this attitude of ease or like, I don't want to say relax, but I know there's a lot that goes on in the background, but there's a sense of ease that I pick up. You'll tell me if I'm right or wrong. But with that, I want to understand a little bit of your journey as well. Obviously, I'm going to be biased as your friend, but in your own words,
Sure.
we were together at university, by the way, for the record. We've both grown up in Delhi and we spent 3 years together in university, which was a few years ago. Let's not go in the
Yeah,
numbers.
let's not say the number.
But in your own words, can you tell me like how, if you also see this strain of ease or kind of taking things as they come, not really being from the hustle, kind of pushing things mentality, and how that's carried with you through your various experiences?
See, I think, everybody has their motivators, right? Like,
Yeah.
you always think you want to do something to achieve something. You put in that hard work, or you put in where you want to go, how much you want to give to what, and chart your plan based on what motivates you. And I think for me, money wasn't that.
Was not.
Was not.
Right.
And I think that's a key differentiator as to why, like, there's an ease with money.
Yeah.
Because every time I've tried to grow professionally or do something professionally, change paths, which I've done quite a few times.
Yes.
It's always been for some other kind of pressure. That's also not healthy, but we
Yeah.
can talk about it later. But it's always been driven with what my peers are doing or what, institute I've gone to and where everybody else is doing, the expectations you put on yourself, the idea of success you have. So that has been why probably I work or I change work or I work hard, but it's not been very money related.
Yeah.
So I started with a completely development sector focus where money was always
Yeah.
not a big thing.
Tell us about your motivators.
Sure.
Tell us about your pivots also, because they're very interesting.
Yeah, they are. I mean, when I look back, I was like, okay, it's quite a
Yeah.
journey. So as you said, we studied economics together,
Yeah.
and then I went for a year to Poland.
Yes.
For
I
my
forgot
gap
about
year.
that.
Yeah. Which was a completely like something that people just don't expect. And
Yeah.
I think my parents didn't even realize where Poland really is in essence, because, if it's London or it's somewhere in US, you always like, okay, you have some family, you have somebody there. But when
Yeah.
I said Poland, they were like, okay, 1 second, let's just see where that is.
Yeah.
And it was just a very basic stipend which was been given. But at
Yeah.
that time, my whole mindset was that, I'm chasing experiences. And I was part of this organization called ISEC, which has had a very big impact on my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm chasing experiences and I'm doing something different and it's going to be something so cool. And I have 1 year to live my life and I'm going to do this. And kudos to my parents who were like, okay,
Yeah.
if you're so convinced, because they were very like, they really trusted me with my conviction through my life, that
Yeah.
if this is something I think is going to be good for me, they let me do it.
They have actually.
They really did. And like they bought my flight ticket to like a place they had no idea about. And this is a
Yeah.
time where Skype was also paid for.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even call them till the time I didn't get an internet connection somewhere, pay for that Skype call, and So, and that was not monetary at all. But that time you're still
Yeah.
young. It doesn't make such a big difference.
Yeah.
You're still, parents are supporting you.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, my mom was like, okay, if she doesn't study now, she's never going to study again. And master's was like the base. Like you have to have a master's to be a
Yeah.
successful human in this household.
Yeah.
So I started my master's in economics,
Yeah.
and it was focused on developmental economics.
Yes.
And my thesis was, to the point of the show, was on women empowerment and how
Really?
even micro amount of money makes a very big difference to empowerment indicators.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah. So what I did was I went to a small village in Haryana,
Right.
and I surveyed 100 women who had become a part of a self-help group.
Right.
And because of that self-help group, they started getting petty amounts, right, every month. It's almost like a committee that you put in.
Yeah, yeah.
And every month somebody gets that whole sum.
Right.
And the idea is to use it for their business. So it could be a dairy business. It could be just buying another cow.
Right.
Or buying, a cycle from which they can sell the milk. So something in which there's a potential to earn revenue.
Right.
And then we studied the empowerment indicators, and those empowerment indicators were like freedom to buy something.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of women who bought something for themselves for the very first time after being, part of this self-help group for 6 months.
Wow.
So buying something as small as a shampoo,
Yeah.
a comb.
Yeah.
There were women who, for the first time, took a bus and went to a different village
Oh.
themselves. So, when I heard all of these stories, it really shifts something in
Yeah.
you, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they're illiterate women.
Yeah.
But still just the buying power of something so small, or actually giving them decision-making ability
Yes.
is a great game changer.
And then this builds towards like leaving toxic relationships
Yeah,
or
yeah.
making bigger decisions.
Yeah, and probably that's a very long
Yeah.
journey, but at least at the start.
Yeah, for someone who's never bought a shampoo, I
Who's
mean,
never,
this
yeah.
is, yeah.
You know, so we had questions, and I'll share that questionnaire sometime with you. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting. We had questions, and this was based on, you know, a model in Bangladesh.
Right.
There were
The
questions.
microfinance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we took the questions from there.
Yeah.
And there were questions on, have you ever gone to your grocery, you know, your corner grocery store alone?
Yeah.
Before and after.
Yeah.
And most of it was like, there was 100% no.
Really?
Because they would always go either with their male child
Yeah.
or like husband or cousin or someone.
Yeah.
They weren't like, they didn't realize that they can go alone and actually buy something.
Yeah.
So-
Here we are in 2020.
Imagine.
Talking about
Imagine.
like women empowerment,
Yeah.
equality,
Yeah.
and then you get
Yeah.
this
So I
shock,
think
you know.
everybody has their own next level of empowerment that they
for
have
sure.
to achieve. For
For
them, it
sure.
was this level that you
For
actually
sure.
go alone,
Yeah.
buy something with your money and get it back home.
Wow.
You know, like there was a woman who kept saying that, you know, once I bought my first packet of biscuit for my child as a gift. She can never forget that feeling.
Oh,
So, you know, those
Yeah.
stories are really like, they really shift something in
Yeah,
you.
of
So,
course.
and I think after that, I was so sure that I want to work in the development sector.
right.
And also my course was also very, you know,
Development
leaning to
based.
that. And
Yeah.
that's why when National Skill Development Corporation came in, that was my
Yes.
first job. It was the perfect match because it was all about skill development.
Yeah.
The idea was to skill, you know, a certain number of people by 2020s at that time.
Yeah.
And giving grants to, you know, NGOs or companies who are giving the right skills at the right place.
Right. Okay.
So I worked with them for 2 years.
You were traveling a lot. is
I was
what
traveling a
remember.
lot. I traveled
Yeah.
23 states in India
Yeah.
because I was working with the state governments to make the skill development scheme.
Nice.
So we were mapping every district of India to see what kind of supply demand gap exists.
Right.
And it was a study first of its kind in India,
Wow.
never been done before. So for a young person who's 22, 23,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And if you ask me how much I got paid, it was nothing. It was peanuts.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the amount of fun I had in those 2 years was amazing.
And you were directly in touch with the decision makers in this
Yeah,
role?
yeah, yeah. It was
Wow.
all, you know, IS
Superb.
officers. And they also, like, I still remember my boss, who was a phenomenal woman.
Yeah.
She told me to start wearing more grown-up clothes. She told me, okay, wear suits, wear like a full, or if you can, wear a sari.
Yeah.
Because they take you more seriously when you're, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because otherwise they're like, you're a kid who's... So I used to desperately say, okay, if I had a little bit of grey hair, it would be a game changer. But because being a woman and being a young woman in
Yeah.
these rooms is a very big disadvantage at times.
100%. Yeah.
But when you're that young, you have, you know, the optimism that you can change the world,
Yes.
and that's what I had as well, and my
Yeah.
team had.
Yeah.
So it was a great journey.
Superb.
And you know, people used to be like, "Okay, you're a woman," because kind of places I was traveling to really, really small
Yeah.
places to you because
Yeah.
that's where we wanted
Almost
to go.
unsafe kind
Unsafe,
of
yeah.
places
I
as well.
still remember like a train journey in UP where, you know, people were shocked that you're a
Traveling
woman
by
traveling
yourself.
alone.
Yeah.
And I had to really go and find a seat next to a family because I was really scared of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But all of that builds character, and you know.
Well, yes. Yeah.
So, and I remember I didn't tell my parents about this for a long time because they were like, I was so scared they won't let me go again.
Yeah.
So, but I think it really gives you some ground level reality, which I
Yeah.
was really after because, you know,
Yeah.
when you're leave such a sheltered life in that, you know, happy bubble, you don't realize what's really going on.
True.
And it really
Definitely.
changes your perspective.
Definitely. Yeah.
But what happened to me also that time was that I quickly realized that I will never make money if I stay in this field, right?
Yeah.
And I think at that time where I was 24, and that's when you really start thinking about what's really going to happen, and you
Yeah.
know, you can't be dependent on you can't live in your parents' house the whole time
Yeah.
because. So then I took a decision to move to KPMG.
Right.
And I think at that time I was so motivated by development sector and the kind of changes you can make. I decided to go to education consulting. Because in my mind, it was that, okay, at least you're in education, at least
Yeah.
you're doing projects which are education strategy and operations.
Right.
So the end beneficiary is a student
You're
eventually.
still making impact. Yeah.
And also, if you, education or any development sector teams and corporates also are very different than the rest of the,
Yeah.
oil and gas consulting or
course.
logistics consulting, because everybody has the same motivator.
Yeah.
That, you are trying to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And that was the kind of team I found in KPMG
Yeah.
as well. So I made that move. And and then, your thinking shifts because you're in the corporate world. Competition comes in, the promotions come in.
Yes.
You start thinking, how do I make the best of it? And I think, our default setting is also progression, right?
Yeah.
My dad was always on work is worship. And the more you work, the luckier you are.
I think like from an Indian
Yeah.
education background, especially Delhi,
Yeah.
our kind of like families that were very
Yeah.
education driven, it's very easy to constantly look for the next thing.
100%.
Growth oriented, superb, but
Yeah. Yeah, and the pressure also. I
The
mean, it comes
pressure.
with that pressure. And I think
Exactly.
for my dad, he was the first generation who came to
Yeah.
a city of Delhi from a smaller place.
Yeah.
So there's an unsaid thing that he took us here, and now we have to go to the next.
Carry on
Yeah.
with the progression.
Yeah, and they gave us this platform, and now you need to do better. And you need to do more.
Yes.
So, and also your peer group, right? And when
Yeah.
you study in such great institutes, your peer group is doing really well as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So you can get inspired or you can also get competitive.
Yeah.
So in my case, I think it was competition. I was
Okay.
like, okay, if everybody
Okay.
else is doing this, I need to really progress and I need to be faster and catch up.
Nice.
'Cause-
It's nice to hear this in your own words
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I don't know a lot of these kind of
Yeah,
stories.
because we don't sit and talk about
Yeah,
this too
no,
often,
we
right? Like
don't.
it doesn't even come up, like,
No.
'cause- and you just assume because you've been together for so long
Yeah.
that you just know these things.
From like what's
Yeah, yeah.
happening.
But I also think the older you grow, the more you realize it about yourself.
That's true.
Because at points you're just doing it in autopilot.
That's true.
So you don't even put those pieces together. I'm sure
That's true.
in another 10 years I'll have more clarity on what
I'll bring you back
really
on the podcast.
yeah, please. That'd be amazing. And hopefully by then there's 5 million people that are listening to us.
Of course, yeah, inevitable.
So then I thought of doing MBA, and a lot of that was also driven with two of our very good friends doing the
Yes,
MBA and doing well after that.
Yes.
So I said this is the route, because if I'm in the corporate world, my master's in development economics degree is not going to take me anywhere.
Yeah.
And I must, try and get that springboard of progression.
Yeah.
So that's why I say we are impatient as well, right? We're like,
Yeah.
okay, no, I'm not going to just sit here and wait for 4 years for next big
Yeah.
thing. I should do my MBA and get to the next level. And so that's what I did. I went to Indian School of Business, and on all of this also gives you the validation that you're in the right path. So
Yes.
just getting my GMAT score, getting the admit,
Yes.
it kind of gives you that, yes, you are really
Yes.
doing a good job. So
Yes.
like I said, I think my motivation wasn't money per se, but it was more of this, that yes, I belong to this,
Yes.
it
was more
set
a
of,
sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And yeah.
and the validation that yes, you're meant for this life and
Yes.
you are accepted here. So
Yeah.
I still remember, like when I got my acceptance to ISB, I was like, oh, I'm just not a development sector person. I can do this also.
Yes.
And my whole
Sorry, just for the
Yeah.
record, these are institutions that are very hard to get to. They have a multi-layered admission criteria process. And in a country that's overpopulated like India, it's very hard to get into these rooms. So that's where Malvika is coming from. Yeah.
It really and my whole you have multiple interviews before you get in, and in an interview it was all about, okay, you're from the development sector, but prove it to us like how you would use that in the corporate setting, because the whole idea of MBA is that you learn from your peers. So they want to get very diversified groups so that everybody learns from everyone. So I had to really prove that the point that yes, my last 4 years, 5 years will contribute to this institute.
Yeah.
But it all worked out. I had a great time in ISB. I got a lot of validation as well that, okay, coming from this background, I can actually do, crack consulting, do well in my strategy classes. And I got into Deloitte USI.
Yes.
Which is also great because it was in Indian MBA institutes you have placements, so the companies come and recruit you from campus directly. And I got recruited on the first day itself, which was again like, okay, great. I'm where I need to be. This is great validation. You know, the fear that a lot of people have is that we won't get picked on the first day, and then we have to do it all over again. It's a very, very strenuous process. You run from interviews to interviews. And whoever gets done the first day, at least you're like, okay, I can, live the rest of 4 months in peace, have fun, and not worry about this anymore.
It's strenuous emotionally as well.
It's a very testing time.
Yeah.
And the competition doesn't help, right? There's so many good people, and you just have to make sure you get in somewhere. So thankfully that happened. And that's sort of another check that yes, you're at the right place. And then I went to Deloitte USI, and I got my H-1B and stuff as well to work in US. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to US and I'm going to focus on consulting. And I was, dating my now husband as well. He was in with the plan. He was anyway in financial services. So for him, it was fine, But what happened was I got matched to real estate consulting.
Oh. Even I don't know this.
Yeah. So because at that time I was planning my wedding as well. So whenever I was speaking to my friends, it was mostly about the wedding. Yeah. But I got into real estate consulting. Right. And it was so far removed from what I ever thought I'll do. Yeah. But I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. Maybe it's good to have a diverse experience. And so I started working on projects. And I think I was I think that was my most unhappy phase professionally.
Yeah.
And that also gives you what is not working for you.
Yes.
So in a way, I thank, Deloitte
That's
that it told me that this is not going to work.
Yeah.
US is not going to work for you as well, because I just couldn't get into I think I'm extremely connected to Indian and Asian culture, and it's very hard for me to go so far away from it. And even distance wise, I'm very, very attached to family, friends. It's very hard for me to go so far. So I think that 1 year of stint there told me what I don't want. I don't want to be, so far from family, and I don't want to do anything apart from education, skills.
Great clarity.
Yeah. At that,
in hindsight.
In hindsight. So that time you feel like your world is collapsing. Yes. But now when you think about it, you're like, okay, it all happens for a reason, right? And most of our adults or, grown-ups say that everything happens for a reason, but you don't believe in it. You're like, no. But right now, my world is so unfair, and everything is falling apart. But I'm thankful to that 1 year, because at least it told me that you should not move away from what you truly like. And then Dubai happened. My husband was based out of here anyway. So post my wedding, I moved. And this is an interesting thing that now you're saying. I was so sure about the fact that I will not move to Dubai with my husband till the time I don't have a job. I was like, I'll keep doing long distance, but I need to have a job because I cannot be financially dependent on another person. Right? And this has been a theme for rest of my marriage and the decisions that I'll take, because you're so used to not. Or I don't know, you're used to it, or you self-impose it, or, but you're like, no, it has to be, I need to have my independence, and I need to have, my say in decision-making and control what I'm doing or not doing. And also I think my parents have 2 girls, and I think they overemphasize the fact that, you should not be dependent on anyone, and you are as good as a man, and you don't need anybody to take care of you, which has also taken me years of work to get over that, because that's also not fair. In a marriage, it's a partnership. You both can depend on each other whenever needed,
right?
But that's not the mindset I had. But luckily I found a role here in PwC in education consulting, and all of those things that I was missing fell into place. Great team, very driven and changing the world, and everybody had the same motivation, very different from the true corporate, personalities that we are used to, competitive. I mean, they were not competitive. They were quite chill. They were quite like, okay, we're here to make a change. So it's also, I think, a story we sell to ourselves, but it works.
It does.
And you can see a clear difference in this kind of people and people who are truly in a very competitive spirit. But also, I think that's why these teams don't do exceptionally well, because they're a bit more relaxed than the others. But it was education consulting, but obviously there were challenges there as well. There was, I think I was one of the first Indians to be in the team,
Right.
which comes with its own set of challenges. It takes time for everybody to adapt
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and get into the same rhythm for me as well and for them as well. But once it happened, once we settled down and we found our ways of working and rhythm, I had a great time. Like
Yeah.
it was a great team. It
Yeah.
was a great supportive environment, a lot of growth. And then when you think you're on the trajectory of great progression, everything is settled, is when you decide to have a baby.
Yes.
So unfortunately, I think our biological clock and career clock goes
Always.
in the same way, which I think everybody, whoever has gone through it, is very aware of it.
Yeah.
And so I just gotten promoted to senior manager, and I got pregnant, which was also good in a way that I didn't have the pressure of the next progression, because in
Yes.
consulting, every 2 to 3 years you're up for
Yeah.
the next thing. But I just gotten promoted, so it was a good time because I could just relax a little
Yeah.
bit. And my team was very supportive as well. Once I told
Okay.
them, there was an internal role which didn't require me to travel a lot, and it was inclusion and diversity
Yeah.
based. So I took that for 6
You
months.
did
So I
that,
had a
yeah.
great pregnancy as well, because it was a bit
Yes.
more relaxed as compared to consulting. I didn't have to
Yes.
travel that much.
Yes.
So that way, I feel like having a supportive team and people who truly at the stage of life where you are, and they can match you and help you,
Yeah.
and still don't pull you down, is a great, great, great blessing.
I think that might be one of your biggest motivators, apart from the impact and development.
Yeah.
And it keeps you going.
Yeah, 100%.
But let me take a step back and ask you that, like I was saying, I pick up on a lot of, like, you make it sound as if this happened, then I got this as well, I got to ISB.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was not like this on behind the curtains,
Oh, of
right?
course.
Like, I'm sure, I know for a fact that there have been nights that you break down.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
constantly seasons that require you to keep up leveling. But when you talk about your entire journey, does it feel like it was full of like struggle, or does it also feel like what I pick up on, which is it was easy, like there were road bumps, but
I think
you moved
Yeah, and
through
who
it.
doesn't have struggle? To be
Yeah.
fair, like I don't think there's anybody who has it that
true,
easy. Like,
but I want to pick on your dominant emotion.
I think I have it's a good thing when I'm in it. I get very in it. Like, I feel all the emotions. I
Yeah.
feel like my world is collapsing. I don't know what to do. I cry a lot.
Yeah.
And my mom always jokes that, whenever a situation comes, first you'll cry, get the negative emotion out, and then you'll deal with it and it'll work out as well.
Yeah.
So my first reaction immediately is to cry.
Yeah.
And just get the overwhelm out of me,
Yeah.
and then go forward and work it out.
Yeah.
So I think it's been very hard to do all of these changes. It's
Yes.
been like very trying to get to know. Like, I think at one point I was like, I have no idea what I want to
Yes.
do. I am so lost. Like,
Yeah.
and you feel around you that everybody has it together,
Yes.
right? And I think I remember when I was 25 is when I was in Deloitte, I think, or going to ISB, and you just moved to Dubai.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, she already knows what she wants to do. She's married, she's moved to Dubai,
Yeah.
she's got her life together, she's working in a great place,
Yeah.
looking great. So you build these things around that everybody else knows what they're
has it
doing,
together,
and it's
yeah.
just you who's
Yeah.
stuck, who has no idea what's the next step to take.
Yeah.
But then eventually it works out. Like,
Yeah.
you have to take it easy also. You
Yeah.
can't be like so wound up all the time, because otherwise even the things that are supposed to come to you won't come.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you have to trust the universe.
For sure.
My dad always used to say, what happens is for the good. What doesn't happen is even
better.
because you don't know what God is saving you from, and
Right.
you don't know what favor the universe is doing.
Right.
But at that time, it's very hard to see.
I'm glad that you're
Yeah, it's
also
extremely, extremely hard to see.
balancing,
Of
because otherwise
course.
your journey just sounds superb, and you're
No,
like, oh,
no, no,
Malika just
no.
went from
No,
like
no.
flying from one mountain to the other.
No.
Yeah.
I've had like, places where I'm like, maybe I should be on antidepressants,
Yeah.
and, because there's a lot of change as well,
Yeah.
right? It's when I moved from Deloitte, to Dubai, PwC,
Yes.
it was a complete change of staying at home.
Yeah.
In a very sheltered house
Supportive
where everything is
environment.
running. My
Yeah.
friends are at a 20-minute drive distance.
Yeah.
To a completely new country, to a completely new company, to a
Yeah.
husband that you're not used to living with,
Yeah.
and a family that you don't know. Like
Yeah.
it was a lot of change, and I think I take a long time to adapt as well.
Right.
So, and the first year of marriage and work was extremely difficult in Dubai.
Yeah.
And, my parents had to support me a lot. They were like, oh, come back anytime you want. Just take it as one day at a time. Just
Yeah.
do this week and we'll see.
Maybe your hardest season, one of
I
the-
think so. No,
Yeah.
I think it's truly my hardest
Yeah.
season. Like
Yeah.
the first year here was in Dubai, and marriage and work was really hard. Like
Yeah.
I think I was just not finding my place anywhere.
Yeah.
I was not finding my place in personal life because I was like, okay, this it's supposed to all work out, but it is not.
Yeah.
And also because my husband and I had never been in the same city before this.
Yes.
We were all
Yes.
3 years we were doing long distance.
Yes.
And long distance, it just makes it easier in the sense because you're not always together, and
Yeah.
so when you are, it's very romantic, and you're
Yeah.
just so happy to be together
Yeah.
that it
It
covers
gives you
up a lot of
one-sided perspective.
So it was the first time we both are here with family dynamics coming
Of
in
course,
as well,
of course.
and new job with I wasn't used to working in such a big multicultural
Yeah.
team because Dubai is so multicultural.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to work with every kind of, just not personality, but cultural background.
Yeah, very much so.
So I think it just took me aback, like
Yeah.
that there's so much change, and then you have expectations from yourself, right?
Yeah.
You put pressure on yourself that, come on, you're a seasoned professional, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Like you've done such great work in India, and you're not able to do it here. What's the problem?
Yeah, that on the one side, and on the other, you were expecting your first year of marriage to be super
Yeah.
rosy.
Yeah.
My first year was the hardest.
And I
in my
remember
life as well.
talking to you about it and
Yeah.
feeling a lot better that it's not that rosy. Like,
yeah, I think I had my own season going at the same time as
Yeah.
you of being a new mother.
And I think
But-
everyone does.
Yeah,
Sorry, you
100%.
said new mother, but I think
Yeah.
everybody has that adjustment period, and everybody
Yeah.
goes through a tough time, but we don't
Yeah.
talk about it enough. We don't share it
Yeah.
enough, and we don't normalize it enough. That,
Yeah.
Because
but between you and I
Yeah.
think we probably did the opposite from my side for sure, where I was like, finally, I have a close
Yeah.
friend in, in town.
Yeah.
I'm going to dole out all the
Yeah,
venting
like
because...
how it should be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because you really, and especially when you're not close to family who can just pick it up
Yeah.
by your moods, and
Yeah.
you have to talk, you have to tell, and you have to your close people, demand affection and
Yeah.
understanding,
I
and
think-
say, help me and support me.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, for sure. But also, through all of this change, I very much see a focus on growth, on progression, and then sometimes you tell me that you're not ambitious like that. Tell me about this.
I think it's to do with what you set for yourself.
Okay.
You think, and it happens a lot in corporate environment, especially with consulting, because the progression is so charted out for you, right? It's almost like a demand on you that you need to be progressing at this rate, or else there's something wrong.
Yeah.
You need to be getting, like, if you're really good every 2 years, or if you're really, really good every 1 year, you should be there and you should become a young partner.
Right.
So you put that pressure, and some of my best friends are doing that, like,
Yeah.
or have already done it and decided it doesn't work and done something else. So they're already like, on a very, very different path than
Yeah.
I was or
Yeah.
am.
Yeah.
So I think it's on bad days it gets to you, right? Like some
Yeah.
days you're very self-contained. You're like, okay, this is the life I wanted. I'm living what I really love, and I'm
Yeah.
thriving in. And some days it just sets you back. That, okay, what am I doing? I thought I would have done this by now.
So with that, I was mentioning, I think off record just before we started the podcast, where I was saying that you're kind of my window to the corporate world, the closest window I have to the corporate world. And let's now go back to where I stopped you in your journey of becoming a mother after you got to the senior position role, a senior manager position. And what was, I know your personal journey, but what kept you going through that? how have you balanced corporate and motherhood in your mind? There's a lot of chatter that we hear about the mother guilt, which keeps coming up. I know, I mean, we might put it aside, but it's a very day to day thing that a lot of us have to deal with. So, what's your perspective? You also had an added googly twist in losing dad just after you gave birth. So, yeah, I want to know your perspective.
So, before I gave birth and through my pregnancy, I had made a commitment to myself that I'm not going to be one of those moms who's going to sacrifice their career.
Right.
I'm going to do it all. I'm going to be like, I'll come back, I'll become director in a year, I'll be a partner. And, you just keep putting that pressure. And a lot of younger, colleagues were also like, okay, Malvika, we're looking at you closely, that you have to come back, be that example, be the woman who can do this also, and, set an example, because not too many in consulting, unfortunately. I was like, okay.
Everyone wants to prop the other person up.
Exactly.
You do it, and then we've got an example.
Because we all need role models, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, don't worry, I'm going to do it. I don't, I'm not that maternal. I'm not going to sacrifice everything that I've worked for. And but the minute you bring that life to the world, your responsibilities shift, your perspective shifts, there's a very, very big shift. It sounds all whimsical and romantic, but it really is.
Yeah, your emotions totally go
completely,
360.
because now you're like, this is my prime role. Like, this is what
I'm here on this planet for.
No, because it is a big responsibility. You've got somebody in this world, and you can't not give them the best of you and the best of life. So having said that, when my son was 5 months old, I lost my dad also. And I was very, very connected to him and very close. And it was a sudden shock, because he was quite okay, and he just, it just happened one day. So that also gets you into a lot of introspection mode, that what really, and he lived a very full, very happy, very non-stressed life, at least the version that I saw. Maybe he had his own things, but from my perspective. And he was very relaxed about his professional growth as well. Like,
he was a lawyer in India, working with some
very
really
high
great
profile,
professionals. And I'm sure it was not as stress-free as he made it look, even from what I saw.
But what a great ability to have, right?
Superb.
To make it sound and look, it's easy to be always, like I used to ask him, why don't you do certain type of transactions or deals, whatever. And he's like, because my biggest thing is I want to sleep well at night.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest compass, that if I can sleep well at night, be there with my kids and family, be in a good mood, have a good dinner, that's what is success.
Yeah.
So when you lose somebody like that, you start thinking that this is what I want to be as well. Like, maybe it wouldn't have hit me that hard if it was still around, and I wouldn't have thought about it in so much detail.
Yeah.
But because that happened, I was like, okay, this is the kind of person I want to be, and this is what I want to show my child. This is the kind of household I want to have.
Right.
Because like we were discussing, right, I feel there's a lot of importance of feminine energy in the house.
Yes.
And I think it's majorly built on the kind of energy the female in the house is getting.
I want to set context. So Malvika and I obviously speak a lot about our personal lives, and she was the first person to point out that it's the energy of the feminine, of the female, that goes across the house. And if you're down, the rest of the house goes down. If you're up and excited, then, the energy of the house is up. And whether it's festivities, whether it's on a normal day, we really see this play out. So I am totally 100% on board. I think I knew it subconsciously, but when you said it, it really clicked into my head. And now I take that as a responsibility on a day-to-day basis, that my first priority is to manage my energies. Everything else can come after.
Correct.
Sorry, please carry on.
And I've learned this from my mom. My mom always used to say that, once you get married, it is you. Like, you are making the house, and everybody else around you will be reflection of what you are trying to do.
I love this clarity.
So it's I've always heard it from her, but I think over the past few years is when it really stuck with me.
Yeah.
So coming back to, after having the baby, after losing my dad, when I went back to work, it was extremely chaotic, because consulting is really hardcore, right? It takes a lot of time and effort, with great rewards monetarily as well, but it does take a lot out of you. And
Yeah.
I think in 6 to 8 months, I realized this is something I cannot do.
Yeah.
And because I'm not doing myself justice, I was always stressed. It used to go on to my son. It used
Yeah.
to go into the house. My husband comes back. It's a really stressed household.
Yeah.
It's just not doing good for everybody.
Yeah.
So I decided to take a step back and do an internal role. And thankfully, there was a team which said, okay,
Yeah.
we'll take you and you can be here till the time you don't decide to go back to consulting.
Right.
So I did that for 1.5 years. It was risk and quality, again, a topic which I'm not passionate about, doesn't serve the purpose of, exciting me or giving me that fulfillment from the professional role, but it served its purpose. Like I got 1.5 years where, I could be present with my family, could still do some meaningful work, still get the
Nice.
monetary benefit, which
Yeah.
is very critical
Yeah.
to running a household, right? I need that money to make sure I have a great life.
Yeah.
And my son gets the best.
Also, you had a few added responsibilities that came on you
100%,
after
100%.
uncle passed away.
Yeah, so I have to make sure, the household in Delhi is running
Yeah.
without hiccups till the time I didn't get everything in order. So
Yeah.
just not making money wasn't an option at all. Maybe it
Yeah.
would have worked, but that insecurity comes out, right? Like
Yeah,
you want that financial security at
Of
a
course.
tough time because
course.
it lets you do other things without thinking.
Of course.
So I think a lot of times I used to think if I just have to do something for my mom, I don't want to ask anyone. I don't want to think twice.
Yeah.
I just want to make the transaction and get it done.
So do you think money became a bit of a motivator to keep
100%.
going?
I think first
Yeah.
time in my life
Yeah.
that money became something that I was like, okay, I'm working to
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah.
Rest of it, I have to adjust. And if I didn't have that motivator, maybe I wouldn't have done it for so long.
Right.
But money became like the prime thing.
Right.
And it served its purpose.
Yeah.
It really was. But I also think, having that clarity that, okay, right now I'm
Yeah.
doing this for money. And when I don't need it, I can move, I can change.
This is great because especially on social media, sometimes just following your passion is glorified so much
Yeah.
that even I tell some of my clients that if you're in a tough position,
Yeah.
please, for the want of a better word, suck it up and have that
100%.
clarity to then do it for the money, because you can't make money
Yeah.
feel so petty while it is so important,
Yeah. And it's not
in
easy.
real life.
In
It's not
It's
easy.
not easy because
It's
you
not
really
easy.
have to compromise. You cry, you went to good
Yeah.
friends, you talk about it, but you have to suck it up. You
Yeah.
have to just do it because that's the season you're in. That's
Yeah,
what you need.
correct.
That's what's serving your purpose.
Yes, and it doesn't last forever.
It doesn't.
It
And
doesn't.
I'm an example because the
Yeah.
next step I took is when I realized that, okay, everything is settled. My mom is okay. My sister is doing well. Everything is falling into place like it does eventually.
Yeah.
I can take the next step. I can now move back to education. And I already removed the fact that consulting would not work.
Yes.
Now that's another journey, which is very you really have to introspect. You
Yeah.
have to put your child first.
Yeah.
You have to put the role of your motherhood
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
and decide what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
For some people, they might make it work with the right support system, right
Yeah.
enablers, right motivation. Maybe
Yes.
they're so motivated that,
Yes.
this is what it is.
Yes.
This is the calling. But for me, it was doing meaningful work, doing education, doing some impact in the society while I can
More balance.
yeah,
Yeah.
be, give it my all to my child, come back
Yes.
home and be in a happy space.
Yes.
So thankfully, luckily, I think when you really ask, the universe delivers. When you really, really, really put it out, you can call it manifestation, you can call it whatever it is.
100%.
Desperation in my case to move
A lot
out.
of action, a lot of inspired action as well.
Which came from desperation for me, but it could come from a more positive place for somebody
Sure,
else.
sure.
Like I said, my first reaction is very I get very upset,
Bogged down,
and
yeah.
then I'm like, okay, what's the action
Yeah.
plan? So Zayed University
It's your
role came in.
current,
It's
yeah.
my current role. I'm
Yeah.
doing strategy there,
Yes.
and it's a very exciting space. It's working in a university for the first time. I've always had them as clients, but this is really being in the system and actually making a difference, which is I'm 4 weeks in, so it's a very exciting journey.
I can
and
imagine.
it had a lot of monetary implications as well.
Yes.
Which is something now again, because now money for me has not, as the first and only motivator has been removed.
Yes.
I can make a more difficult or a different choice.
Yeah.
Where maybe now my first motivator is purpose. So if
Right.
my purpose is getting fulfilled and money is not where it should be or it should have been as per your society standards or progression standards, I can still be okay with it.
Okay, you've made your peace with that. You've accepted it.
After work.
Of course,
it takes
of course,
work. Everything
of
takes
course,
work, I feel.
Of course,
Yeah.
no, definitely. And one thing that I really did want to touch upon, and that I've learned, I remember having a conversation about this as well, is I don't know if we should call it self-care, self-reward, ability to spend in a happy way, having clarity on what makes you happy, is also what I see a lot in you. Despite all the challenges, like while you were grieving, I still saw somewhat of a spark when it came to shopping for bags.
That's a famous incident.
But I love that you own it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't justify it. You don't justify how that's bringing you excitement in a time of very, deep emotions, intense emotions. And I feel like you've always been able to own big spending on yourself. Is that the right way to put it?
Not
You help me.
always,
Okay.
but yes, the current stage for, I think in the last 5 years, yes.
Okay.
But not always. Like I think when I started making like big, like my first salary, I bought my first Michael Kors blue color. I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? And but I think eventually you realize what you truly like spending on and what you don't. And it's very important to eliminate things that you don't get happiness out of. It happens with time,
Tell us
obviously.
some. You were giving me examples
So,
earlier.
for example, like Western luxury clothing,
Yeah.
don't do anything for me. Like, even if I'll buy it, I'll just look at it and regret and
Yeah.
be guilty. Why did I do this? It's not
Yeah.
bringing me the joy. But if I'm shopping from a homegrown Indian brand,
Yeah.
which can be as expensive or cheap, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really gives me joy. That,
Yeah.
I bought something which is so unique, which is so different, which is helping somebody somewhere, a small brand, an artisan making it. It really gives me joy.
Yeah.
Bags give me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
Like bags is something I truly like.
Yeah.
And again, I have my number like we were discussing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in more than 10 maybe.
Okay.
10 is probably my max.
Okay, fair.
More than that would start making me feel guilty, would start
Okay.
making me feel, and I don't want that emotion at all.
Yeah.
So if it's 10, by the time I have 10 in my collection and I can let one go and get another one, that is my happy state.
Okay.
That's the equilibrium that
Nice.
I have. But it takes time to get there.
Yes.
Like, you can't, in the beginning, I was very I used to get jittery. I
Yeah.
used to see something, come back, go again. Now it's very okay, I like this. I have the money to afford it. I'll
Yes.
buy it. You know,
Nice.
and then be happy about it.
And then you don't do the comparison of, instead of this, I could have spent the
No.
money on 2 tickets to India or whatever it is.
I really stopped doing that.
Nice.
I think in the last 5 to 6 years, I stopped it because I feel it really, because I realized one thing, you have bought it. You've spent it, right?
And
Already.
you do love it, yeah.
You love it. And now that you're bringing that emotion, you're really taking the joy
Yeah.
out of the whole situation.
100%.
You bought it, wear it happily, show it off to your friends, show it to people who like it, take pictures, celebrate it. It becomes better. You feel better about the amount you've
100%,
spent.
100%.
Like it gives you back more than you've spent on it.
Yeah, so this is what I next wanted to ask you. Do you think that being able to now in this space spend in a way that makes you feel happy, do you think that brings in more as well? Because that's a lot of what I say in my coaching.
100%. I think awareness, self-awareness is something we really overlook.
Undermine, right?
We
Yeah.
really undermine. We don't give it the importance it should be.
Yeah.
And maybe, your work or whatever you're doing, meditation, whatever the form of some introspection you're doing, should really focus on what really makes you
Yeah.
excited and happy in life.
True.
And then when you spend on that, it doesn't hurt as much, or it doesn't
Yeah.
make you feel guilty as much, because you're truly getting happiness out of it.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I never used to feel spending on fitness
Yeah.
was a investment. I don't even want to call it an investment, or was a good reason to spend money.
Yeah.
I used to see you doing all these classes,
Yeah.
and you genuinely derive so much happiness
enjoy
out of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like your one thing which puts a
It's
smile on
my
your
time.
face. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it never worked for me.
Yeah.
I tried to force it on myself.
We tried going out together to work out.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't work. Till the time I didn't find a very expensive gym and a very expensive trainer, but I love it. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Okay.
And now I just stick to it. I'm like, okay, this is forget
Yeah.
spending money everywhere else. This is what works for me.
Right.
And I never feel guilty about it. Like,
Okay.
because with elimination, I think
Yeah.
the more important part to figure out is what doesn't work for you. What works for you
Right.
is obviously important, but when you eliminate spending on what is not working for you, you truly feel good. Like,
Super.
in our household, my husband and I have decided we don't like spending too much out on drinks and clubbing. It's not our thing.
Yeah.
And since we stopped doing it, it's made our life better.
Much easier.
Yeah.
Also, in this phase of when money was a motivator, were you very conscious of like the minuses? Were you very conscious of what's going out? What changed? Like, tell us.
I think that I'm genuinely not good at. That's a shortcoming. I feel also that I'm not very good with keeping a track to the 1 dirham amount of what's coming and what's going.
Okay.
Macro level view, I obviously know that how
Yeah.
much I should have in my account, how much I'm putting
Yeah.
for my investments. But that to the one
Yeah.
is just not my core personality. It's
But it's not a great thing. Even as a financial coach, I never say to people to track their spending to that level unless they are in a dire kind of need of
Yeah.
knowing where things are
Yeah.
going. But so that means that you never really became super micro obsessed about where all the spending was, which meant that your concentration, your focus wasn't on the lack. It was more on the kind of keeping things going. And I feel that this kind of mentality truly translates into what happens to your bank account, which I have seen constantly
Yeah.
over and over. So it's probably what your experience is as well.
Yeah, and I think also it really helps to have a partner I can really trust with finances,
Yes.
So it's not just me, it becomes a shared responsibility
Yes.
because I can really trust him to, because we're on the same page. We like spending on the same
Yeah.
things. We like saving on the same amount. We like a good life. Our holiday styles are the same.
Yeah.
Like eventually it has become the same.
Yeah.
So I can really trust him also to really rein me in if I'm doing something really wrong. But he also doesn't go to the micro levels. We try and keep it one step higher.
Nice.
So that it doesn't become a stressor for us as well. But it still is something we're keeping an eye on and
Nice.
letting it flow a little bit rather than just
Nice.
control it to the T.
I think we've spoken about a lot of deep things. Let's bring some fun.
Oh,
I want
okay.
to know 5 things that you bought, 5 expensive things that you bought
Okay.
and that you loved. Like you think you got more than your value out of it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Recently or like
Just like last 5
Whatever I
years
can
maybe.
think of. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
whatever you can think of.
Okay, so I think one is the Rolex my husband gifted to me,
Nice.
which I was like, okay, I'm not into watches. I don't like it. Why have you got me this? And
Yeah.
initially I was just like, oh my God, why did he spend so much on me? And
Yeah.
but I think I've got so much more out of it. I love it.
Nice.
I wear it all the time.
Nice.
I don't treat it like some delicate thing. So
Yeah.
I wear it a lot as well.
Nice.
And I love it. So that's one. Second, I think one of my bags that it is Celine grey color bag, which I
Yes.
just bought after I got my
Some
first or
bonus.
second bonus. And it was my first. I just went in. I didn't compare prices. I didn't do anything.
Yes.
This is what I want.
I met you on that day, I
Yeah,
think. And
yeah,
you were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I just bought this
Yeah.
from the bonus. I'm sure I could have spent the bonus somewhere
Yeah.
else, but I just went.
Yeah.
Superb.
And
Okay.
I've worn it so much.
Yes.
I love it. It's great.
It's superb.
That. I think third is what I spend on my house.
Okay. Yeah.
So I do, go expensive on the house, like
Yes.
expensive tiles, expensive
Yes.
curtain or whatever. But the joy me and my husband and I think my son we get out of it is unparalleled.
She
so
has a beautiful house, guys, and I'm convincing her to do that professionally. Bit
no,
by
I
bit.
love it. Like we spend, but you're living in it, so you get
Yes.
like you can't get more happiness in something that you're really touching
Nice.
and living every day.
Every day. Okay, let's do 3. And I want 3 things that maybe you didn't get so much happiness out of. Just
I
bring
have-
some fun.
I have one right on top of my head,
Tell me.
which I think a lot of people are going to agree with. Diet coaching, diet plans, fitness plans. They have just.
I should be a poster
I think the
child.
amount of money I've spent on it, and it's just it's like one of those impulse things. You see somebody's success, you like,
I
yeah,
agree.
this will work for me and I'm going to change my life. And
I agree.
It doesn't happen. Slow
And
and steady, self-motivated is the way to go.
Always comes down to the same basics that you thought you knew already.
Yeah,
and
repackaged in something. So that is
Exactly.
my number one, and I'm just going to stay
Nice.
away from it. It's a promise I've made to myself.
100%. I'm with you on
yeah.
that.
And I think, again, I realized that I don't like Western branded, very expensive clothes because I bought it and it didn't give me that satisfaction at all.
Yeah.
Ever. So I've stopped doing that. Actually, that's all I can think of.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good score.
Yeah. Because in the last 5 years, I've been quite conscious of what
yeah.
I get.
I think the one thing that I take away, apart from the ease, is you're very connected with what you like and what you don't like. I think that helps with how I see your decision making with the house, you with your career changes, with the pivots, and that's such a lovely ability to have. That eliminates a lot of the confusion.
But again, comes with a lot of work.
Course.
Like, that spirituality, meditation, all of that,
Of course.
moves you to that
Of course.
direction.
Of course, but we're all learning.
And
so-
age, I think, obviously.
But we're all learning.
Yeah.
So this is a great kind of thing to pick up from your journey.
And it's a key, I feel, to
Yeah.
really be... Like we were discussing, spending... Like, I don't even like to call it reward or anything.
Yeah.
Spending on yourself, to upkeep, hair, nails, fitness. I think it should just be the way you live and be happy. Like, this is what you require to be the best version of yourself. And
That's superb.
if you're not limited by funds for something, you should just do it without guilt.
Absolutely. So, as the last question, Malvika, I ask all my podcast guests, because the brand is called She Invests, what should the woman out there, what should she invest in, according to you?
See, there can be two types of answers. One philosophical, which is in yourself. I feel the more you invest in yourself in whatever way that works for you, the more you're able to do, the more the universe lets you do as well. The more you put in, it's very like a plant. You water it, it grows. So you should really... Whatever means you have, it doesn't mean go you need a lot of amount of physical money to do it. It could be time, it could be giving yourself the grace, it could be anything that works for you. It could be taking time out for dancing in your living room.
Yeah, for someone listening to this conversation and thinking, I can't have the Rolexes, I can't have the Celine bag. That's not the point.
That's not the point. The point is if you can take half an hour. I'd gone for therapy and my therapist said that all you need to do is 15 minutes of dancing because I was so heavy with... And just that 15 minutes of dancing in a day got me so much joy.
Wow.
And so something of whatever stage you're in, whichever phase you're in, whatever you think you need to do for yourself, you should really do it.
Okay.
And I think second, you should have, monetarily, you should have whatever you can in terms of investment, some things in your name, which are just yours. I feel it gives you a lot of, confidence to move in life, whatever that is. It doesn't matter what amount it is, but it's something yours. Investments in your name, any
Jewelry.
Assets in your name, jewelry which is yours, you control it, you keep it where it is. So whatever it might be, a small FD, whatever, but yours, so that tomorrow nobody you feel that okay, I know how to manage money. I have something of my own. Tomorrow something happens, I can control it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your
It was a pleasure.
time.
I can't believe it's over already.
I'm sure we can go on for hours, but thank you for this concentrated look into your mind and the amazing ways that it works in. I look forward to having you back and
Anytime.
look forward to our conversations. Tune in for more such conversations on our channel. That's it for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.